Hey folks, welcome to the channel. I had a viewer, Sean, ask me if I could build a knife from the game Apex Legends. This is the Wraith Kunai blade. Let's check it out.
Hey folks, bad news. It looks like I lost all the footage to forging this blade. I'm really It was stupid of me and it's all my fault. But we're gonna pick it up from after the forging and turn this into a blade. So stay tuned guys, you'll see it all done and we're gonna come out with a nice blade at the end.
Fortunately you didn't see it, but I got that leaf spring all forged out to shape. Now I'm taking it to the surface grinder, taking all the scale off of it and getting it nice and flat. Symmetry was really important in this blade since everything is kind of down a center line. So that's why I wanted to start this whole build with a center line and then go out from there to make sure it was balanced. So here we are folks, I've surface ground the blade and I drew a center line and then I marked some lines here and ground those down because we're going to be doing a bunch of milling operations to get these, all of the holes which are all down the center line. So we're going to do all of that and then grind it actually to shape so that we'll be able to perfectly mirror it on either side. So now it's just taking this to the mill and putting all these in, and then we'll do some file work to connect them all. All right, let's go. You can see from my design here that there are some little diamond areas, and the way I'm going to do those is drill smaller and smaller holes, and then I'll be able to connect those with a file. So here I'm drilling those largest holes first, and then I'll come back and do it again with the next size down, and etc. and repeat. I go all the way down to a 1/16 of an inch drill here. Now I'm starting on the hole that will form the ring in the back of the handle. I'm starting with a 1/4 inch drill bit and then I'm going to work my way up. I actually have a 1 inch twist drill, so that's nice that I don't have to use a hole saw for this. Here's where I really got to understand the limits of my mill. This size drill really requires a lot of torque, and it was a lot of work for my mill. Here I'm doing the fuller that goes on either side of the handle. I'm using a 1/2 inch ball end mill just to put this in really nicely. I always get a little bit of chatter when I do this, but I'll just have to sand it out later.
So there we are, all done with the milling and drilling. You can see I've got kind of the fuller in the handle here. I did screw up in one area. This was supposed to be for a mosaic pin, but I accidentally drilled this hole. So I just went with it, and I'm going to put the mosaic pin in the middle of the fuller here. So we're going to go with it.
Now to the grinder to work on the profile. Because I started with a center line, I had all my holes drilled, especially this back ring. I was able to just use a scribe to make that circle at the end and then grind to my lines. Now I've got the grinder in horizontal mode. That's nice because it puts all your grind lines going along the blade, which is much nicer. Now the long process of filing out all these little triangles. This took a couple hours. I'm just filing down the edges of the handle just so it's not really sharp on the hand. I thought it was interesting that I filed this so much that it became magnetic, and you can see all of the filing sticking to it. It's time to put the bevel on this knife. I'm putting a center line in so I'll know how far my bevels need to go down. You can see here I tried to drop the angle on my platen so I could do the bevels, but that didn't work. It was too steep of an angle, so I'm going to have to go to plan B. Plan B was taking my 45-degree bevel jig that I use for handles and flipping it the other way and reducing the platen at the same time. The problem here is this introduces a wedge. I had to be really careful when I was grinding so it didn't suck it into that little area. Here we go into the oven for the heat treat. I've already done the 3 normalization cycles, so this is for the final quench. This is 5160 steel, so it gets Park's AAA quench oil. That was a 60 HRC file, now a 65. To me, this looks like a throwing knife, so I wanted to do it at a pretty high temper, so I did this one at 475.
So here it is after heat treat and temper. What I've just done actually is I took a little piece of this copper rod. The hole I made was originally for, I was thinking I was going to put a mosaic pin in here, but by the time the fuller was done on each side, it was really, really thin, so I wasn't sure how I was going to affix it there. So what I tried is just to take this 1/8 inch piece of copper, just put it in there and kind of peen it on either side. And I think that's going to look really good. I'm just going to take the Dremel and level that out so there'll be a nice little copper piece there. Because in the original, I think there's a piece of gold here, so I'm not going to use gold, but copper's close.
I'm taking this back to the surface grinder with a 240 grit just to do the flats.
So for doing inside curves or just curves like this, a good trick is to take some sandpaper and just wind it around a Dremel like this. Sometimes you need to take just a touch of crazy glue. And then
just to make sure it's nice and snug. There. Then you got a little drum sander. Okay, because the drum sanders you typically get are like 80 grit, and this way you can control whatever grit you want.